there are people out there right now who are starting businesses.
Absolutely.
We know exactly what that feels like.
You're right in front of them, so it's like having a billboard that you're actually putting right in front of somebody's face.
When you're considering adding corporate apparel to your brand, these are some things that you should consider.
A lot of website companies, they build it and then they have the ownership of it, and then you don't. You want to own your website.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Marketing Compass podcast, where we help navigate you through the world of marketing and advertising. We're excited to be here with you today. I'm joined with owner and founder, lead visionary, Weston Sigler, and Genevieve Stoll. She's our lead web designer, and new title, wellness. What do we call you? Wellbeing coordinator.
Team Wellbeing Coordinator. I found out about my title yesterday. So.
Yes. Yeah, we like assigning people new titles. That's part of what we'll talk about today.
Business cards have not been edited.
Yeah.
We'll just keep adding.
We
It's
know
gotta be a really
some
long
people for
line.
that.
That's right. That's right. Now, Genevieve's been helping a lot with the well-being of our company for years now, and from day one, she's been a super encourager for our team. But thought in light of today's show, maybe we should have a title for that. So we'll make it fun. But we're super excited to be here with you today, and maybe share some encouraging ideas. Just share maybe a little bit about how we do things from the side of building a positive team culture. It's interesting because when you think about marketing in a marketing company, that's not typically one of like the services that you think of, right? But it is so important when it comes to your reputation, your online reviews and things like that, your storytelling abilities when it comes to social media and how we tell your story on your website is a lot to do with who you are and why you do it. So we'd like to share with you a little bit of behind the scenes on what Blue River does, and maybe you could take a little away for your own company. So we'd love to start with Wes. Yeah. Wes, and we'd love to just kind of start from the beginning. Blue River Digital. When you decided to found Blue River Digital, like what was the drive behind that? The vision, and the way you laid out the framework from the beginning, from a cultural perspective.
Yeah, well, I always wanted to own my own business. I tell my kids, work is always work. So you're never going to get away from having to work hard. But I think there's things that you can put in place to help alleviate some of the stress, things that go along with that. I've been told good leaders pull, bad leaders push. And I think team culture starts with leadership. And so from day one, I was going to be the first one at work. I was going to be the last one to leave. I was going to pull. I was going to work as hard as I could to make it successful, in hopes that whoever we added to the team would understand through not just words, but would understand through action that this is how our culture, thrives and how we exist. And so it started with that. It also, it really was important for me to have work-life balance. That means we work our 40 hours and we're done. That means no overtime. That means no weekends if we can possibly, keep from having to work those weekends, because without a good family structure in place, without downtime, we aren't effective. We just can't be effective for the long haul. I mean, we can do that for a month or 2 months, but if we really want to have a team that is happy, wants to stay in a culture. I mean, we're a small business, right? I mean, there's only 14 of us. I mean, we're not tiny, but we're small. So there's a lot of things we can offer, but one thing we can offer is an environment where you're not being pushed to work excessive amounts of hours. We're trying to do what we want to do within that framework of 40 hours. So that's another thing. Shared vision, shared goals. Making sure that our team as a leader, making sure that our team understands the direction we want to go, being very transparent with, what kind of numbers we're looking at, whether this is a good year or a bad year, a good month or a bad month, or, how are things going, so that everyone has a piece of the, of the pie, if you will, understands, the health of the business and what's going on. Being able to recognize and award those who are top performers and making sure that people understand when they're doing a good job. And along with that is, there are times when we have to get together and say, hey, this needs some work. But you can only do that if you're leading in a way where there's a culture of recognition, and there's leadership where they take all the credit, and there's leadership that says, it's not me, it's my team, it's the people that are in place around me. So that, and then I'll just say the last thing for me is empowerment. Being able to empower my team to do, I'm not a micromanager, so I want a team that I can trust, and I empower them. And I say, hey, you guys do it, figure it out and do it. I'm always here for questions, and hopefully the environment around us, the culture that we've created, the team knows this is probably the direction Wes would go, or this is probably where Wes would want this to happen, or how it would happen. And so helping them understand my philosophy of business, helping everyone understand what we want to accomplish, but then empowering the team and saying, hey, you guys, I trust you. You guys do it. And, there's always going to be mistakes, and that's okay too. That it's okay if once in a while we mess up and fail. Because I will tell you, in the last 10 years, I've made plenty of mistakes, but that's how we learn, right? So,
Yeah.
So I think that's, overall, those are kind of some of the key principles going through my mind when we talk about team culture and trying to develop that at Blue River.
Like so many solid points there that has truly, and Jen, I'd like you to speak to this a little bit too. Specifically for me, is like is changed the way that I can work, and it's not only opened up an atmosphere to where I can have that work-life balance, but get so much more done because of it. Because of the freedom that you give us, and the empowerment that you give us, and the transparency that you give us, and the vision casting that you give us of what you want to see done, really allows us to just run, just to run, and it removes all the red tape that is unnecessary. That really kind of slows things down a lot of time too, right? Jen, I'd love to hear your thoughts when you're hearing these things that Wes is sharing, because Jen, one of your big roles here, and Jen, you have like 50 roles, so you are so very appreciated. I'd love to hear what your thoughts is when you're hearing that, because one of your roles is relaying that to our team through care and well-being and events, that team building and things like that. So what are your thoughts when you're hearing that, and how has that kind of helped you feel empowered?
Yeah,
to do
absolutely.
that?
I do feel like as I hear Wes speak, like he lives out all of that. So I mean, that's huge in and of itself. You want a leader who is speaking those truths and also like living them out. And I feel like every employee sort of comes into a job with their own drive, and some are harder on themselves, and some don't even notice that they're doing something a certain way. And so like the way that you are speaking into the team matters. I remember you saying that to me, like if you're moving fast and you make a mistake, it's not a big deal, because you're moving fast and you'll figure it out and you'll move forward and you'll press on. And for me, that was like, oh, okay, I needed that, because I'm the one that's gonna make sure everything is perfectly tied up with a bow. And so, having those things to go back on when you're naturally thinking the way that you think is important in, throughout your daily job. I saw something the other day that said culture is how employees' hearts and stomachs feel about Monday morning on Sunday night. And that is so true.
Yeah.
And I will say that like totally aside from work, yeah, of course, we're not going to be like, I can't wait to go to work tomorrow morning. Like I don't think very, very few people are feeling that. But it's the difference between like, okay, I'm a little stressed about my workload, or like I have all of this extra toxic culture that I'm stepping into on Monday morning that I have to deal with on top of workload. And I've never felt that. Like I felt stressed because there's a lot of work, and that's fine. It ebbs and flows. But it's not like I really don't want to go tomorrow kind of a feeling. And I think that is culture in and of itself. As you were talking, I also saw something, key performance indicators. Like a lot of bosses focus on key performance indicators. And as I was listening to you talk, I was thinking, okay, they talk about leaders focusing on key performance indicators, like the new set of key performance indicators, keeping people interested, keeping people informed, keeping people involved, and keeping people inspired. And as you were talking, I was like thinking of all of those things. Like working here, I am interested. There's always something new to do. We move at a pace where we're serving our customers and we're moving fast, and we are interested. Keeping people informed, like you were talking about, telling them about, okay, where does the business stand? How do we want to grow? And then keeping them involved in a way that, we do have stake in how we're doing. And you give us just enough information, just enough involvement to where we feel like we're part of it and we're moving this ship forward. But also you probably carry all the extra business stress that we don't have to deal with. So we appreciate that. But I think there's a piece of that you feel like you are part of something bigger, and that leads to quality culture, and then just staying inspired, like making sure that we love what we do, and we're, and I think something that we do, something that Wes does, is a yearly review meeting and asks those questions like, what do you love to do? What are your least favorite projects to do? And then how can we like give you space to do those things that you love to do? So
you mentioned stress,
Mhm.
Jen, and Wes, I'd love for you to share more about this, because you've encouraged me in this a lot, and I catch myself now sharing with the team members that I have some leadership responsibility over, and I do this to my kids now also. But just how you manage stress, and how some stress is good, and how it pushes you, right? So like there's a limit. We don't want from a productivity standpoint, as leaders, we don't want our team members to be completely, and don't take this the wrong way, and there's probably a better way to say this, and you guys please tell me if there is, but like we don't want you to be completely relaxed and just sitting back and twiddling your thumbs.
Right.
And we also don't want you to be so busy that you're making yourself sick because you're so anxious, right? So, but pushing that line makes you better.
It does, yeah.
So maybe speak to that a little bit, Wes, and how you've seen that play out.
Yeah, well, I think it comes down to, number one, personalities. So there are certain personalities that do better with stress and certain that don't. I would consider myself a perfectionist, and so I'm very concerned about having everything right and correct. And so if it's not, then that's an instant stressor for me, because I know something's off. But I've learned over the years that when I do start to incur some stress, that usually is a warning sign that something's not functioning the way it should properly function. If I'm stressed, way back, if I'm stressed because I don't know if I'm going to make it to work on time, okay, then the issue is not I'm stressed. The issue is I got to leave earlier, which means I got to set my alarm earlier, which means I got to get up earlier. so that I bypass that stress. That stress does not have to occur if I rearrange my life in a way that helps me to function better. So when I first, early on in my life, those were the kind of stresses I would get. And it wasn't because it was because there was things in my life that I needed to change and be more disciplined at. So then now as I'm, as a business owner, and we're, 10 years this September, when I start to feel stress, the first question I ask is, what's not functioning the way it should? Is it something that I can control? Is it something we need to change in the business? Or is this something where I'm just not trusting? Now, we all are people of faith. We trust Christ as our Savior. He is part of our daily life. There are times when God wants to stretch us. And in those times of stretching, we have to be okay with him taking control and us being able to just trust. Over time, the more that we do that, the more that I place my trust in God for his direction, and I see him take care of it, that's faithfulness. And as I learn God's faithfulness in my life, things come about, and I say, oh yeah, I've seen this before. And I really don't have to freak out about this time, because, a month from now, God's going to have it all taken care of. And so, early on, our cash flow at Blue River, we would be on these high, huge cash, and then we would dip so low that I was like, I don't know if we're going to make payroll. And so there would be nights when I would lose sleep wondering if we're going to get the checks in that we need to make sure everybody gets paid. And slowly learning we learned how to even out that cash flow. That was something we had to learn. But also now when we have cash flow issues, looking back and saying, it's okay. God's got it. We're doing what we're supposed to do. He's faithful. He's been faithful before. I don't have to worry. And so, so stress, it's complicated, but there are a lot of things we can do to eliminate it, or at least, but sometimes we just have a lot of work.
Yeah. I think that's
not a bad thing.
I think that's primarily the stress that we talk about isn't necessarily like adverse environments or challenges that are coming at us. It's more about just we have a lot of work to do, and I feel like also as a team, we care so much. The transparency that you've provided, I've heard it, Ryan. I know I've heard people ask Ryan. I'm sure they've asked you, Genevieve. Like they ask us, like, so do you own Blue River? And like, no, I don't. Just Wes just empowers us to make it feel like it's our own, and that makes us really, really care about it and care about the projects that we're doing. So we probably put a lot of extra stress on ourselves when we have high expectations for ourselves and how we want to be able to communicate with our customers, communicate with each other, and how we want to turn projects around. So really the stress, I think that most of us feel has nothing to do with a big fire that we have to figure out how to get put out. It's all about like, how do I fit all of this into my 40 or 45 hour work week? And I love it. You've told me this more than once, probably 5 or 6 times. If you're not getting it done in 40 or 45 hours, then you're doing it wrong, because there's, you got to figure out your process. How do you adjust to make sure you're not staying past at work when you need to be at home with your family. So I really appreciate that encouragement over the years too. And I still struggle with it, but good reminders along the way.
And sometimes prolonged stress for us means we just need to hire someone else.
Yeah.
And how long do we drag our feet before we decide to add a new team member? So,
that's the big leadership challenge, Wes. You do such a great job at leading by example in that, because I think a lot of us who are younger, we haven't been doing it as long as you have, and there are times when we would have in the past, we're like, man, we are so busy, we sure could hire somebody. But what you're doing is you're sitting back and observing. Like, yeah, we should probably hire somebody, but let's just make sure this is real. Because one thing that I think that you've mentioned to me at least one time, it was during COVID time period, But I think you ought to be really proud of this, is that you've never had to lay anybody off. There's been people that have left that we've let go for other reasons, but never because of lack of work. What you're doing is it's your wisdom that you've developed over the years. You don't make harsh, rash decisions, and when we're busy. So we're going to be busy for a period of time, and we need to make sure that it's sustainable. So that way, when we do hire, we're not in a pinch that hurts everyone else.
Right.
So yeah, that's that's one of the really big challenges that there is in leading and
Sure,
and
absolutely.
having that responsibility of hiring and that responsibility of cash flow and payroll. And payroll is the biggest chunk of cash flow, right? So we want to pay our team members well for what they're worth, and better if we can, but at what point do we have to pull in the next line of recruits and bring on new people? So that's a challenge.
It is. Yep.
Ongoing.
Always.
Well, I think now is probably a good time just to take a little pause. We'll regain our thoughts here and finish out strong with the next segment. Hey, welcome back, guys. Thanks for joining us again here for the second half of our podcast on team culture and how we do things here at Blue River. Our hope is that maybe you can take away some of these things that we're doing and maybe apply it to your own businesses. And even we'd love to hear what you're doing on your own for building team culture. But I want to go back to our well-being coordinator here, Genevieve. And so Jen, I just maybe if you could share some things that we've implemented over the last few years to kind of initiatives and technology and things like that to kind of help us stay connected as our team grows. And so we have a second location now. How that dynamic changes over time, how we have to be flexible and change. What are some things that we've put into place?
Sure. Yeah. I started at Blue River Digital when we were small and intimate, 6, 7.
It was intimate then.
Yeah.
It was small.
Like 800 square feet.
And we've grown a lot. And there are things that we have had in place for a long time that have sort of felt different as we've grown and we've gotten to different locations. We've always had a Monday morning meeting, and we talk about projects that are going on, what we have coming up this week, any scheduling things that we need to go over. And it's a time for us all to be in one room together at the same time. As we've gotten into 2 different locations, Wes has kept that up in the Columbia City office. And there are some mornings when I'm driving to Columbia City thinking, this is strange. And then I get there and I feel like, okay, it's so necessary to be in all in one space, to feel like we are one family of Blue River Digital staffers. And so that, as much as driving into Columbia City and then coming back to Warsaw feels like a lot, like that is key to our culture, to be able to connect and be together and kind of have goals for the week moving forward.
Yeah.
I will say that connection is huge. I do work from home 3 days a week. And when I come into the office, I realize, man, it's so nice to be in the office and to be with the team. And I like working from home as well. But, the connection piece is huge, and being able to connect in multiple different ways is important. And so we do have like project management software, Monday.com, where we talk about projects that are going on and check-ins and put all of our notes in there and have a place to kind of go back to. That's hugely important. We do video meetings and stay connected that way. But last year in our yearly meeting, Wes said, what could we do better? And I said, team building events. And he so humbly said, that is not my area of expertise. That's not my natural inclination to do that. Would you run it? And hence the new title upon myself. So I don't know that I am deserving of that title, but I have, kind of taken it upon myself to make sure that we have team building events. We already do something at the end of the year to kind of go over numbers. And at our team building events, we make sure that we do have still those quarterly meetings where we talk about how we're doing and what our goals are and all of that. But just the piece of connecting with one another on a level that is not work is huge, because you don't want to just chat it up at work all the time because you have work. But it gives you a place to take a breath and talk about stuff that isn't work. And I'm a firm believer in the fact that you will work harder for people that you know and people that you trust and people that you respect. And I think some of that comes through work, but I'm not spending all my time with every single person on the team to be able to gain that trust with them. So having those times where we sort of separate out and get to know each other better allows us to be able to, lift heavy loads better when we need it. So
back to some of the tools, the technology that we've kind of implemented here over the years. Monday.com has been something for project management that we've added. It's been interesting how that tool has adapted for us over time. I remember when we first started, for a long time, the first probably 6 years of our existence, we used just paper, and we just transferred it from department to department to department. And then once we got busier to where, where did that paper go? It was hard to find things on Matt's desk sometimes. he would agree. But, we switched to, I think we had an Excel spreadsheet for a while. We had Smartsheet, and just finding the right tool to use has been huge. It's been scary along the ways, because the more automations that are involved in that process tends to make the price go up. So it's been scary adding overhead in areas like that. But what it's done for communication and productivity has been amazing. And I think still, if not every week, at least every other week, we talk about that, like how we need to refine that process in our Monday morning meetings, and it's always been great. I think another big change we made recently is switching over to the Google Workspace, getting us all on one common piece of software to use for emails, but then that's also opened up interdepartmental chat and video conferencing and things like that. So that's been really big, because there is a component to our challenges that has to do with proximity and the two locations. And we're only 25 minutes apart, 20 minutes if it's Wes or Ryan driving, but 25 minutes, 15 if it's Drew.
He needs him. Like, he's the one.
Brittany's probably watching.
Okay.
No, she knows. But it doesn't seem that far, but it's hard to stay connected. So a quick phone call, even better now, a quick video conference, those kind of things are really come into play on how we're able to continue and maintain communication. But I think probably my favorite event / team building / communication piece that we have amongst ourselves is our annual Christmas party. It's a highlight. It's something I always look forward to. It's just so much fun. It's laid back. It's unique for sure. There's always something fun and different about it, but it's just a great time where we can just laugh, get to know each other's spouses better, and families, and I think that's just one of the huge components of our team that has come along with this foundation of our culture, is just that our family is our family, and we're just great friends, and we see each other at church on Sundays, and there's probably, we see a lot of us see each other 6 days a week, sometimes 7, and not all for work stuff either. So it's just great. So Wes, what are some long-term vision goals that you have in place around maintaining the culture that we have. As we get busier, we have more projects, and we do decide to pull the trigger to add new team members. That each new team member adds another layer of complexity.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, as the company scales, as we continue to grow, we're at 14 employees now. I mean, it has become more and more difficult to keep a family atmosphere. That may not necessarily be the exact thing we're going for, but just something where we're at least close, close knit family. I'm a big proponent of entree leadership from Dave Ramsey, and the first stage of business is the treadmill operator. Basically, it's the guy just running on the treadmill trying to do, and if he gets off the treadmill, then the business stops. Basically, so it's all on the shoulders of that person, and early on, like that's what I was running and just running and running, making sure that we were going to make it. And I think what was very wise is to eventually get to a point where I stepped back and started thinking about things like culture and what we want to foster, because of the importance of finding good people, good talent, and keeping them. And we couldn't offer everything because of us being small,
Right.
but there were some things that I think we could do better than a large company could. And so how do we do that? And so, getting off the treadmill long enough to begin to develop some of these things. And even, last year, the quarterly just get together thing kind of birthed from that. But, I think the other thing is overcoming personality traits is a challenge sometimes. Like Jen so eloquently put, when she came up with the idea of the quarterly get together, that was a great thing, but that wasn't something that I was going to be able to come up with on my own because that's not my personality. So being willing to grow, all of us being willing to grow and learn and be challenged in areas where we're just not strong in. So keeping track of birthdays, which our team does so much better than I do, and I need to be better at, making sure we have these events planned, because, when I have my head down and I'm on task with whatever project, those things are so far away, but they're so important at the same time. And so trying to make sure that we're fostering. So that's a challenge, because there are some personalities that need to be assured that they're doing a great job. And we have an awesome team, and I probably don't do a good enough job letting everyone know how great they're doing. I try to do that, but there are times I'm sure where it's like, boy, I wish Wes would just let me know whether or not he's happy. So I need to, so there's always growth, right? There's always learning and growing. But, 2 locations has also made it more difficult for us. When we added Warsaw and, when we were in our little 800 square foot, box downtown, and we were all together. I mean, it was kind of a different dynamic.
You
And
can kind of just yell.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
Right.
everybody would hear you.
Everybody.
Yeah. So then, half our team left and come over here to Warsaw. And so, as a leader, it's like, well, hopefully they're doing a good job. I trust them. But that communication was kind of, severed a little bit as far as, just the inner office stuff. So, just things to think about as if we continue to grow, if there's another location, or, who knows, maybe we'll come back together into one big family someday. But, always challenges that we have to figure out.
Yeah. So, Wes, why don't you share just a little bit about, the new nonprofit, Giving Basics, a big piece of our culture, right? So, that's something that you have been nurturing with your family for years, and something that you've been sharing with us, and we've been able to participate in some a little bit there. But what was the vision behind the nonprofit and how it integrates with Blue River, and the opportunities that might set out for us to serve?
Yeah, well, I mean, Blue River is partly a printing and printing company, that's what printing led us to West Africa way back in 2000, Amy and I, to set up a small print shop there. And we've been continuing to support that ministry over there. And we go back every so many years and help maintain equipment and teach and do all kinds of things. But, Blue River came to a point, I think, where we're large enough to where we have a profit to where, I wanted to give back a larger portion of what we were profiting. And so, part of the reasoning behind all of the nonprofit was to give us an avenue to give back. And so, a lot of our net profit is donated back into Giving Basics, and Giving Basics then uses that funding to do projects in West Africa and East Africa and in the country of Malawi. We do projects in Guatemala, all over the world. And so it's a great way for us to together as a team, you know, see projects, get involved in projects, even try to find projects that fit within our culture and what we enjoy doing or want to do. And so, moving forward, we'd love to see that grow, and would love to get our whole team over to one of these areas that we're invested in. Get them and their families over to see the work and see what's going on, and just enjoy seeing some of the things that their work is doing besides just the day-to-day grind. So
And I think the foundation that lays for us in serving our customers is huge. There is a culture of giving back, and I think that is reflected in the way that we serve our customers.
Yeah, absolutely. And the knowledge that, like you said, the net profit, a big portion of our net profit is being given to these projects. So, it's fulfilling in the work that we're doing every single day. And whether you all know it or not, your projects are contributing to a much greater work that's happening. So thank you for that. And thank you for helping us get involved, allowing us to get involved in this. And at any rate of involvement,
Just by showing up on Monday morning.
showing up, we get to participate
Working
in it.
hard,
So I think that's a big piece of our culture, is understanding our purpose and what we're doing, and the fact that what we are doing is a much greater mission than just marketers. We've been blessed with knowledge in this area where we can come alongside and help businesses answer marketing challenges and business growth challenges and maybe cultural challenges and developing a team culture there. So it does help and provide something that's really fulfilling, and I see that, and not only I believe that for sure, but I think I see that in the other team members as well. And something I was thinking about here, just as we wrap up, something I was thinking about is that, we're sharing all this and it sounds like it's a recruitment video, right? Like, yeah, come work for us. We're not technically hiring right now, but we are hiring partners, businesses, right? What we love about what we do is that we are passionate about the projects that we work with. And we want to be an extension of the businesses that we work for. And we want to be your marketing team. And this is the culture that you get, So when you hire Blue River Digital, we're your marketing team. We begin communicating like this is ours. There's a buy-in that happens there because we care. And I think that's apparent with every single one of our 14 team members that we have. And it makes it fun. We spoke earlier today. We spoke with one of our great clients, More Farm Stores. They're ones that are like that. That we've been working with them for such a long time. All three of us, been working with them such a long time. we could work an expo booth for them and sell a tractor for them.
Yeah.
We know their stuff and we can represent them. So I would, we're not necessarily hiring right now, but we would take on new partners, and would love to be your marketing arm of what you do. Jen, before we close up, anything else that you'd like to share from the well-being coordinator? Anything that you see on the horizon? What are you working on for us? Do you have any surprises?
What's our fourth quarter event?
Well, I don't know. I didn't do so good at the fall or the spring event. Wes
It was
picked
still
up the
fun.
ball for that, and we had a great time. But yeah, I think it's just the reminder that it's important, and it's important to take the time for. I think like the three of us and pretty much everyone who works here, it's easy to just come in, work hard, leave, and have a couple conversations here and there. And it is important to take the time to think about what you're doing really well and what you could enhance, and how you can connect better as a team, because it does matter. We're at work for a long time
Yeah.
every week. So the ways that you can make that, a team that you want to work with is huge.
Agreed.
Yeah. I think the biggest takeaway for all this, for those of you that are listening right now and maybe reflecting on your own team culture, I think the biggest thing with all of it goes back to the leader and the communication that happens. And when that leader is pulling us instead of pushing us, it truly makes all the difference in the world. And that communication, open communication, that the setting of the goals, I call you our lead visionary. Like, you cast the vision for us, and we all know here's your job, just go do it, and you get out of the way and just let us work. You're always there for help and support and mentorship, and we greatly appreciate that. But having a leader that's pulling you, and the communication and clarity that you give behind your vision is the takeaways that you all should. They are the takeaways that you all should be listening to right now and trying to implement into your business, because it truly allows us all to feel like it's our own. Because I think you've mentioned this before. I know that I've heard this from other businesses that we work with, specifically in the retail space. It allows us to really understand costs. It really allows us to understand like the time that we have here, what it does to everything else. And without that clarity, it's literally just a job, and then people start getting upset because they feel like they're working harder than somebody else, and like it's not the case, So with the transparency that's there, it really allows people to blossom. So we would just encourage you all to just reflect on your own and see, what's one thing that you can implement in your team culture today to kind of help things flow. Because like I said, it does reflect onto your marketing. Two big pieces that we do is storytelling and reputation management, and manage your online visibility, right? So your reviews that come through are a representation of how you treat your customers, and how you treat your customers is typically a representation of how your leadership is kind of formed, right? So I'd suggest that you reflect on that. If you have questions, we would love to sit down with you and maybe answer some questions that you have about what we're doing, or give you suggestions on things that maybe you can start implementing into your own business to help you grow, help your culture grow, and address those challenges that you might be having. But just want to thank you all again for tuning in. This was a really fun episode. Thank you, Wes and Genevieve, for everything that you both do. Thank you for making working here fun. There is days of stress, but the stress is good, right? So thank you both. And if you don't mind, please like this episode of the Marketing Compass podcast. Go ahead, subscribe on your favorite platforms, and then you can check us out on our website as well at blueriverd.com. Thanks.
And comment if you have ideas for team building or
Hey, there you
or
go.
other things that we can do. 'cause
We
we're
can
always
just help with that.
learning.
Yes. Encourage us as
So-
well, please.
Yeah.
All right. Have a great one.